All right, brother. So as I was saying yesterday, we had some good takeaways yesterday.
Yes.
Going from humble to generous.
Yes. Yeah, that was a really good one. Yeah. From humble to generous. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And not necessarily that if you're generous, you're not being humble, but you're taking that step.
Yes.
You know. So one of the things that you said yesterday that got me thinking that we should do this exercise is when you were saying that, you know, your lack of self-worth, or you feel like your self-worth could be more.
Yes.
And you know, there's maybe a certain level of judgment there, or, you know, lack of acceptance, things like that. Yeah. So what I want to do now is this exercise called re-imprinting.
Okay.
And so if you're ready, what I'd like
Yes.
you to do is think of a time this past week, anytime in the last few days, where you were triggered, where you felt this lack of full 100% self-worth. So anytime this past week, so you don't have to tell me, you don't have to go into detail, but you just let me know when you have like a time in mind.
Yeah. I have that already. It was on Saturday when I was, you know, meeting all of these people, these coaches and healers and stuff. And when they were introducing themselves, like this is what they're doing, you know, I already felt like, okay, like I was looking into, like, for example, like I was thinking, okay, maybe this is, you know, when you go to these networking was, I was like, this is someone maybe I can help, you know. I was like, maybe I can find some clients there. That was part of what I thought. And then when I was speaking to people, when they told me, the moment they told me what they do, I already felt like, even when I read somewhere on Facebook, especially when I look at some profiles, yeah, I just start to feel like, okay, you know what, I cannot help this person. They're much higher than me. Whereas it's actually like the opposite. Like the way I'm saying is, when they look at me, I can see them in their eyes. The things they say, they were like, oh, wow, you're so vulnerable. I can see it, like they see me. Maybe they see me higher as them, you know, or something. There must be something that they know what I'm worth in a way. But I kind of like, I sabotage my self-worth by acting humble or by being humble. That's what I do. Basically, yeah. I sabotage my self-worth by being humble. That's one part of it. And then obviously it's the other one is by comparing myself with others, even if I don't know anything about them. Just by that, yeah, so I sabotage my self-worth by comparing myself with other people's titles. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Well, if there was one specific instance on Saturday where you felt this very acutely, where you felt this comparison, this lack of self-worth, I'd like you to bring yourself to that moment and almost taste the poison of whatever you were feeling then.
Yeah.
Now, let me know when you feel it.
I can feel it. Yeah.
Okay. On the count of 3, I would like to allow your subconscious to take you back to the first time in your life where you felt this same feeling. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. First thoughts, first impressions. When did you feel this same feeling first in your life?
The very first time, or just any time?
Where did you go to right now?
So I went to Thailand. To Thailand when I went to this meetup, this digital nomad meetup. and everyone was just introducing themselves, like what they're doing, and some of them were like copywriters, you know, everyone was sharing like how they can help others. It was like a skills exchange meetup.
Okay.
And as everyone, like, they were all introducing themselves, what they're doing, how they can help others. When I had the mic on my hand and I was talking, I could already feel like myself that I don't have any self-worth, because the way I could hear my voice, that was the first thing, because I've never had spoken before on a mic, and the way my voice was sounding, that was the second thing. And the third thing is that I just said I don't have anything to share. I don't know how I can help others. And when I looked around, that like they all had so amazing talents, so many skills. Yeah, that's when I like completely lost it.
So thank you for sharing that. I'd like to ask you, go to the moment immediately preceding you talking, or you immediately feeling what you did. Did that same feeling exist in your body, in your life, before this meetup in Thailand?
Yes.
Okay. So now let's go further back. Okay. So let's keep going further back until we get to the origin of when this feeling first arose in your body, in your life. Okay. So here we go. Allow your subconscious to guide you. 1, 2, 3. First thoughts, first impressions.
So as you were already, like, when you mentioned like going to the next one, I already had the next one in mind, and that was when I was saying I love you to my first crush in school. I already felt like not really worthy. And
How old were you?
I was around, this was, oh wow, this is way, way, way back. Then I thought, yeah, this is when I think, the memory that keeps coming up was, I was in fourth, I think a third or fourth grade. So I was around, so first grade, I was around 6, 7, 8. Yeah, around 8, 9. Yeah. Wow, that was such a long time ago. Wow, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So you're around 8 years old. You were saying I love you to your first crush.
Yes.
Now, I'd like you to go to the moment immediately preceding the situation. I'd like you to put yourself in your shoes before you even decided to walk up to her and say, I love you and all that. Did you have this feeling of lack of self-worth within you even before this situation?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. So now let's go further back. So on the count of 3, allow your subconscious to take you back, even further back, to the first time that it remembers you feeling this lack of self-worth in your life. 1, 2, 3. First thoughts, first impressions.
I don't know, brings me back like to a time when I was quite young, and I still can remember it. I still have like a trauma from this. Like my dad came home, he was drunk, and
How old were you?
I I think I was quite young. I think I was probably around even like I think 4 years old. I think yeah, around that age. Or approximately between 3 to 5 years old or something.
Okay.
And my dad came home like drunk, and he was just swearing at me. And when he was drunk, we was just sleeping, and he came and he basically pinched my ears, you know. And I was just sleeping, and he was just saying like, you know, like he was just swearing at me. We have like a swear word in our language, which is related to the father, and it's like a common swear word. But yeah, it was like padar, which means like it's a swear word about the father, you know. But I don't know how to translate it in English.
Sure.
But he was saying it to me, and he was like, you know, pulling my ears, and then that's when I think I felt worth like I didn't have any self-worth because I was feeling I've received the opposite of love, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. What I'd like you to do now, Giovi, is I'd like you to close your eyes. And are you witnessing this situation that you just described for me in your shoes? Or how did you know that the situation occurred in your life?
So I've seen this part quite a lot of times, and whenever I look at it, I don't see it in my own shoes. I see it from a third point of view.
I see.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so it's a start. So what I'd like you to do is close your eyes and be disassociated, meaning observe the situation from a third person perspective. So I'd like you to imagine that there's a movie that's playing in front of you, like a frame, and you are yourself. You are not anyone else. You are yourself in this current version of you, observing this movie in which you're watching yourself as a 3 to 5-year-old. You're watching this scene unfold with your father coming in and doing what he does. I'd like you to just observe this movie, stay detached, and what I'd like you to do is first put yourself into your body. So I'd like you to go in and imagine that you are now the 3 or 4 or 5-year-old version of yourself in that situation, and just experience that situation just for a few seconds. When you've done that, I'd like you to jump back out. Jump back out and become dissociated again, and you're watching this movie play out in front of you. What I'd like you to do now is, knowing everything that you know now as the adult Giovi, what internal resources, what could that younger Giovi have accessed within himself that could have helped him maintain his self-worth and deal with that situation in the best way possible? What do you think he could have accessed?
Knowing that it was not about him.
What would you call that? That it was not about him.
It was not his dad did it not because of him, but because of his own worth. Yeah.
Right. So what would you call that resource that the younger Giovi could have tapped into? If he knew it was not about him, what resource, what quality would he need to have to display that knowing, to embody it?
Self-worth realization.
And if he had self-worth realization, what resource would he be tapping into?
He would be able to know that he would be able to realize that he has his own self-worth, and it's not a shared thing. It's not shared from his parents. Whatever his parents have gone through, whatever their self-worth is, it's not shared with him. He has his own self-worth. Self-worth is not something that's shared. Worthiness is not something that's shared.
He knew that it was his own self-worth.
Yes, it's his own worthiness.
What?
It's not something that's shared. You cannot share your worthiness. It's not like, for example, even if his parents didn't have any self-worth, they felt like they were not worthy, it's not something that they would share with their children. The children have to develop their own worthiness. And not like that the child obtains the worthiness from their parents. Because the parents, it's not something the parents give to the children.
I'd like to ask you, what else might he have needed? So an understanding of his own self-worth, understanding that it's his own self-worth. What else could he have tapped into? Stay dissociated, don't jump in, just observe from the third person perspective, from your perspective. And maybe play this movie, this scenario, a few times just to see what else could that younger Giovi have tapped into.
Knowing that my father didn't receive so much love from his father, and that's because like not enough love from his father, because his father passed away, so he could not receive the full love that he always wanted. He couldn't receive it because he didn't have any father. You know, his father passed away when he was around the same age I'm now. So it was, his father passed away when he was around, I think, his father was passed away when he was around 25, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So what would you call that if you knew that your father didn't receive love from his father? What internal resource would you be tapping into?
My father talking to himself.
Is that the internal resource for yourself? Like, what would you tap into from within?
Tap into within, I would tap into my soul. Yeah, I would tap into my soul because this information is something I'm receiving from my soul. Yeah, because I'm accessing the power of my soul, which can realize these things right now. Because my soul recognizes and knows already things before I do physically.
So far you've said self-worth understanding and soul knowledge.
Yes.
Any other internal resources that this younger version of yourself might have needed?
Yeah, I would call it soul recognition. I think, yeah, soul recognition / knowledge. Yeah, yes.
Okay. Let's try this. What I'd like you to do is stay dissociated and keep that movie frame in front of you. I'd like you to turn your attention to a time in your life, Giovi, where you felt an understanding of yourself, of your self-worth, really strongly in your life. A specific moment, situation, in any part of your life, all the way until now, where you felt this self-worth understanding very deeply, very strongly. So let me know when you think of such an instance.
Yes, I'm there, yeah.
Okay, perfect. What I'd like you to do is feel that feeling in your body fully. Feel it in every cell of your body. And when you do, I'd like you to anchor it with an image, with a sound, with a body posture or a position, something which allows you to get back to the state as we go through this exercise again. Let me know when you do. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to do the same thing. Think of a time in your life where you felt very strongly that you had soul recognition. Any time in your life up until now, you felt soul recognition very strongly, very deeply. Let me know when you do.
Yes, I have it, yeah.
Perfect. And now feel that feeling in your body throughout every cell. And when you do, I'd like you to anchor it with an image, with a sound, with a body sensation or posture, something that will help you get back to the state anytime you want. Let me know when you do. Excellent. So what I'd like you to do now is shift your attention back to the frame that we were looking at when you were 4 years old, roughly. What I'd like you to do now is associate, go back into the frame and into the body of that 4-year-old version of yourself. This time you're taking in these internal resources of self-worth understanding and soul recognition. You're adding those resources into that younger version of yourself and allowing that younger version of yourself to embody these resources completely. And as you do this, and as these resources flow into his body, and you're experiencing the situation from his perspective, you're noticing the shift. You're noticing the transformation that is happening inside his body and throughout the whole experience. And as you're experiencing this, I'd like you to notice if he might, that younger version of yourself, whose body you're in right now, if he might need any other resources to help him in this situation, in addition to self-worth understanding and soul recognition.
Just unconditional love.
Got it. Just that so far?
Yes.
Okay. What I'd like you to do is jump back out of his body, become dissociated. Keep that frame in front of you. And I'd like you to think of a time in your life, Giovi, where you felt unconditional love so deeply, so strongly. And let me know when you do.
Yes.
Now feel that feeling of unconditional love throughout every cell in your body. And when you do, find an anchor, an image, a sound, a body position or posture, something that will help you get back to the state on command. Let me know when you do.
Yes.
Now, turning our attention back to this frame, this movie, I'd like you to go back into this body, the body of your 4-year-old version of yourself, taking in the resource of unconditional love with you and allowing him to embody that resource fully. So now he has self-worth understanding, soul recognition, and unconditional love as part of what he embodies. Just observe as his internal and external realities shift. Continue to replay that movie a few times. What I'd like you to do is jump back out. And this time, I'd like you to take your awareness back into the frame, but this time into the body of your father. I'd like you to turn your attention to his perspective, as if you are in his shoes, experiencing everything that he had gone through in his entire life, and you are now in his shoes in that situation. Just observe what might have been going through his mind, his body. And now I'd like you to jump back out and observe this scenario. And knowing everything that you know now, Giovi, as the adult Giovi, what internal resources do you think your father could have accessed in that situation to help him deal with that situation in the best way possible.
He would have needed worthiness.
Okay.
Love, especially from his mother. Trust. Accepting. Yeah, accepting himself, knowing that it was not his fault.
A couple questions. If
Yes.
he knew deep within that it was not his fault that he was acting this way, what would that have done for him?
He wouldn't be intoxicated, coming drunk at home, and be violent with his wife and also to his children. Because he was escaping the fact that he was going through so many emotions, and rather facing them, he was intoxicating himself so he could forget the emotions, forget himself.
Instead of escaping from his emotions, what could he have done instead?
Dealt with them.
And what internal resources might he have needed to tap into to help deal with that?
Going and seeing a therapist, counseling.
Internal resource. So what would that have taken from him to do that? What would he have needed to tap into within?
Forgiveness.
Anything else? Like, for example, did he need courage?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Courage to face his fears.
Got it. Now let's go back to the first thing you said, worthiness. If he had love and trust and acceptance and forgiveness and courage, would he have worthiness for himself?
He had love, trust, courage, and forgiveness.
And acceptance.
And acceptance. Yes, he would have had more worthiness than
he felt
more.
worthy. Yeah, if he felt worthy.
Yes. Maybe. Yeah.
What would that have done for him?
If he felt worthy, would have, what would I would have done for him if he felt worthy? It would. He could give love to his children unconditionally.
Mm. And if he was able to give love to his children, what would he be tapping into from within?
He would tap into love.
Got it. So what I'd like you to do now is stay dissociated and keep that frame in front of you. And I'd like you to think of the time in your life where you felt unconditional love. It could be the same moment that you had earlier. And I'd like you to feel that feeling in your body 100% throughout every cell. Let me know when you do.
Yes.
Excellent. Now, I'd like you to think of a time in your life, Giovi, where you felt deeply and completely in trust. You felt trust very deeply. Let me know when you do.
Yes.
And feel that feeling in your entire body and anchor it. An image, sound, body posture. Let me know when you do.
Yes.
Wonderful. Next, a time in your life, Giovi, where you felt acceptance very strongly. Feel that feeling in your body, your entire body, and then anchor it. Let me know when you do.
Yes.
Next, a time in your life where you felt forgiveness very strongly. When you do, I'd like you to feel that feeling in your body 100% throughout every cell. And anchor it. And finally, courage. A time in your life, Giovi, where you felt very courageous. When you do, feel that feeling in your body 100% and anchor it. Now, turning our attention back to the frame, I'd like you to go in and associate into the body of your father. And you're now taking these resources of unconditional love of trust, of acceptance, of forgiveness, and of courage with you, and allowing those resources to flow into his body so that he completely embodies them. And see and feel how his perspective, how his thoughts, how his behaviors, how his words all shift, all transform when he's able to access these internal resources that were always available to him. You think he might have needed anything else? Anything other than unconditional love, of trust, of acceptance, of forgiveness, and of courage.
Hmm.
I'd like you to jump back out when you're ready, when you've experienced it from his perspective. Jump back out and viewing from the third person perspective. Just observe what's happening now in this situation, in this scenario. What's happening with you, what's happening with your father.
So what I see is my father coming home and kissing my mom, coming home and just feeling so blissful, and sharing that bliss with me, coming to me and just kissing me on my forehead and just nurturing me. And what happens to me is that I feel accepted, I feel love, and I feel his bliss. Yeah, I feel the light that he's sharing with me.
Beautiful. Now allow this situation, this scene to replay a few times and just observe and really try to tune it up, make it more vibrant, make it bright. You're doing wonderful, bro.
Thank you.
And as you allow this movie to replay, and while you make it as compelling as you can make it, internally and externally within yourself and everyone else there, I'd like you to walk up to that younger version of yourself, the one who's 4 years old, roughly. I'd like you to introduce yourself to him. Maybe squat down next to him. Look him in the eyes. Introduce yourself. And let him know that everything turned out just fine. and that you're always there for him. And sorry it took you so long to go back and see him. But you're there now. And you'd love to be good friends from now on. Now, what I'd like you to do is take his hand, hold his hand, his left or right one, doesn't matter. And what I'd like you to do is have him walk up his timeline. So you're taking his hand and you're now walking him out of that scene. And with each step, he grows a little bit older. And I'd like you to walk him into that next probable scenario that comes to mind, Giovi, where he might have felt triggered to lose his self-worth. But now he is walking into that situation with these internal resources that you've just added of his self-worth understanding, soul recognition, and unconditional love. I'd like you to walk him into that next scene and see and feel and just observe, see and feel how his perspective, his reality shifts because he's now able to access those internal resources. No matter what's happening in the external world, he can always tap into these internal resources. When that movie, when that scenario is as compelling as you can make it, maybe replay it a couple times. So that is exactly the way that you would have wanted it to happen, just like the previous scenario. And that he holds on to 100% of his self-worth. And only when that's done, I'd like you to take his hand again and walk him up the timeline and into the next probable scenario where he might have been tested, where his self-worth might have gone down, but now he is walking in with his internal resources of self-worth understanding, of soul recognition, of unconditional love. And this time, that scenario plays out very differently. His internal and external experience are very different. And replay that movie a couple times and really make it as compelling as you could absolutely make it. When you've done that, and only when you feel like he's holding on to 100% of his self-worth, no compromise, and take his hand and walk him up the timeline. I'd like you to repeat this process. I'm here, right here. And continue to walk him, scene by scene, as he gets older, throughout his entire childhood, adolescence, teenage years, to each and every scene in which he could use those internal resources to hold on to 100% of his self-worth. And make each scene as compelling as you can make it. Replay it a few times. And when he's holding on to 100% of his self-worth, maybe you give him a high five or something. Take his hand, and on you go to the next scene. Repeat this process. And let me know when you get to your 20s. Take your time. Whatever scene comes up next that your subconscious presents, walk him into that scene. Allow that scene to transform, given that he's now accessing those internal resources of self-worth understanding, of soul recognition, of unconditional love. Allow that scene to shift and transform into the most compelling version that you can imagine. Replay it a couple times, really tune it up. And when you're satisfied and when that younger version of yourself holds on to all of his self-worth, then and only then, continue to move him up. You and him together doing this work. Having fun, playing along the whole way. Just repeat this process. Right here with you, keep going. Walking him up the timeline one by one. Keep going. Or at around what age are you?
I think I've reached like where I'm now.
Giovi, okay, awesome. All
Yeah.
right. So what I'd like you to do, excellent work so far. You're doing amazing.
Thank you.
What I'd like you to do is, now that you've reached your age, I'd like you to continue to walk him up the timeline so that now this version that you've been walking up is now older than you. So you're there at this current age and you're continuing to walk up this version of yourself who's now walking into your future. And I'd like you to walk him into a probable scenario where his self-worth might be tested in the next, let's say, 1 to 3 days, where he might get triggered, but now he can access those internal resources of unconditional love, of soul recognition, of self-worth understanding. And he's able to hold on to 100% of his self-worth. And make this movie as compelling as you can make it. Tune it up. And then and only then, walk him up to the next probable scenario, maybe in the next week or 2 weeks, in maybe another context of your life. And do the same thing. In this scenario, he holds on to his self-worth. And make that movie as compelling as you can make it. And only then, walk him up the timeline to something perhaps in the next 1 to 3 months, a probable future scenario where he might feel triggered and lose some part of his self-worth. But now he has those internal resources that he can tap into anytime of self-worth understanding, of soul recognition, of unconditional love. And he's able to make the most of that situation. Really tune up that example, really make it as compelling as you can make it. When that's done, walk him up the timeline to something in maybe the next 6 months to a year. Some probable scenario where he might feel triggered, but he's now able to maintain 100% of his self-worth. Replay that movie, make it as compelling as you can, and really tune it up. And when you've done that, and only when you've done that, take him up again. To something in the next 1 to 3 years. A probable scenario where he might get tested, but he's stepping into it with the access to the internal resources that he has at any time. And allow him to maintain his his self-worth, not lose any self-worth, and in fact, maybe increase his self-worth as he gets tested. Really tune up that movie, really make it as compelling as you can absolutely make it. And when that's done, and only when that's done, walk him up again to something in the next 3 to 5 years, or even longer if you can go further out, up to 10 years or even more. Any probable scenario. Which can be his fuel to maintain and even grow his self-worth as he taps into those internal resources that are always available to him. And when that's as compelling as you could make it, walk him up to one more scenario, one more situation, anytime in the future, to make sure this is really ingrained, maybe a context that you have not yet visited, your financial life, your personal life, your health, walk him in and allow him to make the most of that scenario. When that's done, when that's as compelling as you can make it for him, I'd like you to turn to him, face him, thank him for going on this journey with you. Give him a hug. As long of a hug as you would like to give him. And as you give him this hug, you notice that you are both becoming one. And now you're coming back to the here and now. With all these resources, all these experiences, all these versions of yourself integrated within you. On the count of 3, back to the here and now. 1, 2, 3. Question for you. I'd like to ask you, does any part of you have any objection to the changes that we have just made within you?
Not really, no.
No? Okay. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Well done, brother.
Thank you. That was, I didn't expect that to go like so deeply. Like, yeah, that was really, really strong. Yeah, I know there might be still some things which may have not healed completely. You know, there are, I know there might be still some things, but like I feel like I cannot access them right now, but I feel like there might be still some things, but like I've outshined so many things, like just by this process, like yeah, so much, and it makes so much sense, like from my father, you know, because that's something like I've been dealing with quite some time, and you're like, wow, like just coming to that realization and you know going that deep and taking over, like yeah, that's very, very deep. That's very, very deep. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, well, this was quite strong. This is very, very strong. Yeah.
Sure, bro. Yeah. So take some time. Maybe if you need to just, sit still, relax, and just take it all in. Maybe journal or listen to some music or dance or whatever. But allow this to sink in. Allow this to fully integrate. And what might help is before we meet next week,
Yes.
is to keep track inside within yourself of when you encounter potential triggers and notice how your awareness of it is allowing you to be more resourceful and access your internal resources. And just make a mental note of when that happens, and that's it. Okay, because you are going to get triggers. That's how life works. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm aware of that, and I've also, like, when you are guiding me to go to the next steps next, I was also looking at, like, I think that was a good training, like, looking at what are the next scenarios, what's the next thing, like I could see that, that's the next thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, I could feel that was like it was a good training to see like what's coming next. Although it was a little bit difficult, like, to see what's the next position, where I'm gonna go next. But yeah, I could understand. I could get it like a grasp of, okay, this is the next thing which could happen, and how am I handling it? What's happening within me? So I'm more and more aware of that, and I feel like the last few weeks, something like I've been working was really not caring much, and it's so amazing that that's what we're working. That's what we dealt with. So it's going really on that direction. Like, I knew that I'm gonna be working on this, and it's just beautiful, like how really unfold. It's like so fascinating, and like, yeah, I didn't know that this affected me like so much with my dad, like back in time, so much. I never knew, I never thought about this, that I knew that this affected me, but I didn't know that this is the part of my life that has been affected. So yeah, I'm just excited that, yeah, I'm just be happy and so excited that of being myself and going through the process, and yeah, just excited to go to the next level. It's my next level.
For sure. It's already happening, bro. Just let go. It's already happened.
Yeah.
It's already happened.
It's already happened. I'm just walking the path which I've already gone to.
That's right. Just enjoy the scenery. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah. It's so beautiful.
Awesome, bro. You did amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, brother. Yeah, I appreciate it so much, man. Thanks for being such an amazing guide. For sure.
Yes. For sure. This is an amazing journey. Yeah, thanks for taking this on. It comes from you, yeah? You wanted this to happen, so it's happening. Yeah, absolutely. Everything is happening the way it's meant to be, and the way I put it out, So I'm just receiving everything that I've put out,
to the universe, to God, and that's how I'm being guided. And it's amazing that, yeah, it's all happening for me. And right now I'm in a journey, like just going all alone. You know, I'm not spending time with a lot of people. I'm just focusing a lot of myself and letting go of a lot of things. So it's very interesting, like how it's unfolding. You know, like a lone wolf. Well, I wouldn't say that really about me, but like that's like, sorry, like I'm just walking all alone. And when I speak to people, like a lot of people I know, they wouldn't be able to do this. But I'm just doing this, and I'm getting like the nectar of the fruits of my labor. That's how I feel like, really.
Totally.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother. I'm excited for you. Keep me posted how these next few days go.
Definitely.
And I guess I'll see you in the morning or tomorrow afternoon. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Perfect. All right, brother. Good
I'm
stuff.
so looking for this.
Okay, I'll send you the recording and everything.
Yeah. Great.
All right. Cheers, bro.
Thank you so much, brother. Yeah.
You're welcome.
I'll see you tomorrow. So excited to speak to you tomorrow.
Take care.
All right. Take it. Okay. Have a good day. Bye.